Our next contributor is Mr. Anil Srinivasan from Rhapsody Foundation. Now, my Anil is a very multifaceted personality. He's a world-class musician. He's a world-class pianist, mathematician from Columbia University. He's also a professor of design thinking, Kriya University. But today he's wearing a different hat. He's also a profound educator. He's trying something wonderfully different, how to improve STEM learning using music as a medium. So Rhapsody Foundation has worked, and this is at a very good scale. Hundreds of schools they're working with. Over to Anil Srinivasan. Thank you for joining us, Anil.
Thank you, Ram, and namaste to everybody here. In fact, I want to say I'm not wearing any hat at all, which is very obvious from what's on top of my head. It was very fascinating to listen to the previous speaker. Anand, thank you for reaching out to me. Sorry, since I only got to know about this yesterday, so I don't have a slide deck. I have a few things to share, some data that I can share. And unfortunately, I could not schedule this in any other way because there's another talk I'm giving very shortly in about half an hour. But I didn't want to miss out on that. I'm only here as a great fan of Arun Jain. That's the only hat I'm wearing today, and the vision that you have for uniting all of us. So a little bit about the background of what we do. The fundamentals of it is that whichever form of art. So one of the great advantages of using the arts in the classroom is that it helps in bridging the inequity in education. Right. So one of the big problems we have is you have a single textbook or you have a single concept. Even if you take the simple concept of a fraction for a child growing up in a home where both parents are educated is very different than for a fraction when it is coming for the very first time to a first generation learner. Right. So you take any concept which we take for granted. If you've grown up in cities and if you've grown up in good CBSE schools, certain concepts that you've taken for granted, and especially in fundamental kindergarten to primary years, things that you can take for granted, such as language construction, such as grammar, right? Rules of sentence syntax. You take things on simple numerical theories like addition, subtraction, what we call numeracy, right? Things that you can take for granted are not always taken for granted in every classroom. We see the disparity in urban classrooms. The disparity is there in semi-urban. The disparity is there in rural, right? So one of the things with the arts is a song for everybody, right? The song approaches everybody with tremendous equality, right? And when the song approaches somebody with tremendous equality, then through the medium of the song, so you think of the song as a language. Don't think of a song as a performing art form. Think of the song as a language. Through that language, you can communicate very simple concepts. When it comes in the guise of a common, simple language, every child is able to receive it somewhat equally, right? And when they are singing it together, the experience of it, and there, the rest of the idea of music takes over. So what I will try and do is show a couple of slides. Do I have a slide sharing option? I do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go to the rectangular box below and
yeah. So I haven't shared much with Google Meets, but I'm going to try. Let me see.
Present now.
Yeah, you're able to see it, right?
It's coming up, Anil.
Yeah. So
yeah, we can see it now. Yeah.
So this is sort of the theory of the mind when it comes to just music. So if I add visual art and other things to it, it'll be much, much more. But just using music, one of the simple statistics is that something that is said as a sentence, and this comes from my background in neuroscience. So something that is said as a sentence of medium complexity can fire about, say, 30 to 35 neurotransmitters in the brain. The same sentence, when it is sung, is firing something close to 350,000 neurotransmitters in the brain. So the differential is 1:10,000. And this graph is not just to prove that I did a PhD. This graph is to show you that different parts of the brain are all being simultaneously affected when you're using the medium of music. So just using science, the idea is it brings both access and equality at one level, and then it is activating the brain so well. So why not break down complex concepts into simpler songs build them up so that it affects the brain. It helps a child, even coming from a different context or a different background, learn much better. And it is using this that this has spread as a movement. I think Ram was kind enough to say it has gone at some scale. I'm very happy to share that the combined approaches of the initiatives that I work with today is reaching close to 7,73,000 students. And it's working really, really well. I mean, not just the scale. And just in terms of simple data that we have, which I thought I would share, is the pre and post interventions, because at heart I'm a market researcher. When we started actually measuring, this was actually measured in 4 government-run schools in Krishnagiri district, where the intervention has been used. And we started seeing very significant increases. First and foremost, a 15% increase in attendance. So the days in which the Rhapsody lesson, for example, where music integrated or art integrated teaching is being done in the school, the attendance increases by 15%. And in both maths and science, we are seeing 2 to 3% increase in grasp of concepts. But the greatest so far that we have seen has been in language. And that makes a lot of sense, because we don't have to speak Telugu in order to be able to hum a Telugu song. You don't have to speak Bengali in order to be able to hum a Bengali song. So you pick up languages much, much faster. So as a sort of a cognitive facilitator and an education accelerator, the Rhapsody lessons have worked very well. It's 465 lesson plans, which are mapping music mainly and then visual art also to various concepts in maths, language, and science. And the greatest part of this, I heard even the previous presenter talking about it, is that it is working very well when in local context. So for example, let's say in Krishnagiri district, we are using trainers who are themselves from Krishnagiri district, graduates in any discipline. We are able to give them a methodology and they are becoming very effective instructors for this. So it's a very self-sustaining and hyper-local kind of delivery that is happening in schools. Starting from this, it led us to the next level, which is the model for creative intelligence, where we said that, look, if in everything, whether from corporate boardrooms to our humblest classrooms in our villages, we are talking about creativity as being the big feeder for 21st century. I broke it down into 4 different forms for creativity. So all of us understand the first part, which is artistic creativity, which is to do with the arts itself. So what we are doing in Rhapsody, for example, falls into that, which is not just performance, as I said, but you can use music or you can use visual art to be able to teach even complex concepts. And because you're teaching it in such a creative way, where students are coming together, singing a song about a concept, etc., it is firing very different parts of the brain. I showed you that graph. The second is collaborative, which is, the entire design thinking framework, for example, is premised on collaboration. And the idea of in the lesson plan, in the way we actually conduct classes, the fact that most of these things are done as facilitated group exercises, facilitated group play. But this led us into something deeper, far deeper, and I'm going to come to that in a second. I will stop sharing and I will just talk into the camera for this part of it. So it was while working at this level, at the grassroots, from kindergarten to class 5, and seeing the effectiveness of this, that I chanced upon the second innovation or the second sort of avatar of this, which is that when students start entering around 7th or 8th grade, this is both rural as well as semi-urban, urban of course, is when a child, the dropout rates start increasing, right? So around the 7th or 8th standard or 9th standard, a lot of children are being put to work. And many do not stick around to finish education. And one of the main things, I'm sure there are much bigger experts than me to know the many reasons why that happens. But one of the things we saw is exposure, right? So access and exposure to what are possibilities, what are the different kinds of things that children can do, what are the different careers ahead of them, what are the different future pathways available to them. This is not there. Even in our urban classrooms, it is not there. We are all told that science or commerce are the only sorts of things that you can get into. Science also has a very restrictive definition. And then everything is sort of shaped around it. Even though the NEP as well as the NCF, I can give you the exact page reference, are talking about the different manifestations of science in the classroom, different manifestations of experiential learning in the classroom. You know that the last mile delivery when it comes to teaching in the classroom is not keeping pace with that. Right. So, and in today's day and age where I think we are dominated by the fit Gs of the world, where you are given IIT as the only orientation for getting into engineering. I wanted to say this right at the beginning to Arunji. Yesterday, I was addressing the students at NIT Trichy. And I asked a very simple question on stage and I was stunned. The simple question was, I said, can anybody here define engineering? And I mean, surprise, surprise, nobody did, right? So, and I said, I will give you the example. If I ask you, what is your name? You're telling me what your grandfather's name is, which is your favorite bus route and what food item you like to eat, but you're still not giving me your name, right? So one of the big fallacies that we have is that we've created a nation which is aspiring for a degree, but not aspiring for learning. So we just sort of transcribed that back to this creative intelligence model. And I said, how can we bring in access? How can we bring in access to people who can guide you, right? So I could be sitting in a village in Krishnagiri, but supposing a person who's working passionately on solar energy at University of California, San Diego, is directly able to reach this boy, directly able to reach this girl in our remotest villages. If we can make that access possible so that I start making sense and start getting interested in learning through experiential exposure, then automatically a certain revolution will happen. And therefore, in 2022, I think Arunji knows this, to some extent Ram knows this, we started the project-based learning as an initiative for all our schools, all the schools that we are working with. What is the simple premise, as I said, is that using the creative intelligence framework, so now I will re-present that again, we provide access to children of the subcontinent, regardless of where they are, regardless of where they're coming from, directly to professors who are thought leaders or are research experts in different domains across the world, using the online medium as a means of getting that exposure. But online medium is just to get the exposure, just so that they can speak to them. After that, uske baad, they have to work on a project hands-on. They have to use their hands and actually create models or create ideas which could be related to different topics. The moment this happens and they submit that back, they get a certificate from that university, from that professor. They get, so I could be sitting in a village in Karnataka and I'll get a Caltech certificate, right, for doing this. But after that, we start telling them what their skills are and then matching them towards where they can get mentored, etc. It's opening up a lot of pathways. This project is not even a year old. I'm glad to say that about 255,000 students have been reached. And we have about 47 universities and university professors who have already onboarded using a very simple, very simple 5-letter word, which works very well in this context. And that 5-letter word is called guilt. So I enumerated that there are 37,334 professors of Indian origin only in the United States. Right? This is how much we have exported by just using guilt. I'm saying it in a light-hearted way, but by just talking to them, many of them were more than happy to give back. Many of them are sitting as chair professors of different things. Why not make them inspire our children wherever they may be sitting? And now that we have methodologies to do this, even in a simple mobile phone, I can make them talk to the child. If we can create the simple methodologies, the exposure happens, and then there needs to be curated project-led, project-based exposure. So this is what we have done. And I'm very happy that all kinds of things have started happening. One of the very first project leaders on this platform was Shri Arun Jain himself. And he did a project on design thinking, which he introduced to 18,000 students across India on just, I think, one lecture. And if I remember correctly, that lecture had tech glitches also. And it was one of our very first exposures. And he told them about design thinking, broke it down into simple elements. And we gave them a simple idea of saying, can you design the classroom of the future? What excited me was not the designs that came from our very affluent Delhi schools or affluent Chennai schools. What delighted me was children from villages around Tirunelveli working on chart diagrams, uploading them, using words like prototyping, using words like research orientation, human-centric design, things like that. Whether or not those concepts are immediately applicable, the fact that they've all started thinking differently. I think it's a great testament to the fact that this is a model that can also be looked at, pruned, and made to scale. So I will just show a couple more things and then I will stop. So both from the music and art integration perspective, which now very much CBSE is looking at. In fact, I chaired the conference for them on that last year. If you look at it, the artistic creativity and to a large extent, Rhapsody was able to cover for early years. But project-based learning, especially because we are doing it as a group activity, it is firing all the other three. So it is done collaboratively. It is looking at creative ways of thinking and decision making. And of course, it is leading to design and innovation. It is leading to ideas from them of how to make the world a better place by looking at problem solving as a very, very integral part of the way they learn. So again, taking it away from just the degrees, but as learning. So this is just giving an idea of how much there is. So this is where we are at. The outreach, like I said, both in terms of Rhapsody as well as in terms of our project-based learning approach, the number of students is increasing. It is all both guided by very strict research-led innovation pedagogies, and that is how we are scaling this. So that is what we are doing. And right now, for Rhapsody, the outreach is much more in the south, whereas with project-based learning, the other initiative that has spread all over India. So this is where we are at.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anil. That was really insightful. The beauty of this kind of interactions is when you have people like Aveti Learning who are already working with thousands of schools in Odisha, right? Irrespective of the end of this design dialogue, I can already imagine there'll be cross connects that will be happening between partners. What we'll do, Anand, is we'll make a quick compilation of all the people in all the 3 sessions so far with names, mobile numbers, email addresses, which we'll share with everyone.
That will be great.
So that can definitely encourage a lot of cross connections that will happen and let the dialogue flow between the different partners.
So I mean, I'll just say one last thing and I will stop. So a couple of things that have happened, through the project-based learning approach, especially the kind of professors who are getting involved in shaping these projects. The good news is that they're also, and true to Arunji's fashion, I think a very strict design thinking template is what is being followed. So in fact, the projects themselves are curated along the lines of a design thinking project. So there's a research phase, there is a prototyping phase, there's an ideation phase, there's a testing phase, there's a feedback phase, and then only we actually ask them to. So in fact, the project schedule of 3 to 4 weeks is actually premised on that. And what is interesting is, because I was talking about music being a common language, now again the design thinking common language is helping, whether the professor is from Caltech or the professor is from Oxford or the professor is from NIT Trichy, it is helping them also calibrate how to give a project, using a certain template and using a certain vocabulary and language. Some fantastic things have happened. I think 4 boys from one of the Chennai schools cracked machine learning. I mean, they have never been exposed to machine learning before. They learned it through the project with the free tools and free software we gave them. And they've learned it, and they've used machine learning to crack how to help children with autism express emotion. And this particular project caught the attention of the media and things like that. And that's now becoming an initiative. So Center for Autism Development and Autism Research, Trivandrum is taking an interest, and it's going into a different direction. But these are all things coming from children, right? So
thank you, Anil.
That's all I wanted to share.
Yeah, Anil, this course, like say if you have to do in one school, what is the kind of a model you have? Slightly, if somebody has to do in a research school on Rhapsody, the modeling part of it, if you can just what is so.
Sure. So very simple. So what we have done is we've onboarded a large pool of research assistants from colleges. So the final year engineering, final year medicine, final year humanities, social sciences students from different institutes, as part of their internship or externship credit, have become research assistants and research aides on our platform. We train them. And we've got already 350 of them. And these are representing every institution from NIT Surathkal and IIT Madras to BITS Pilani and so on and so forth. And they get research credit, internship credit. They in turn are training students through the platform. There's a chat interface that we have cultivated, and they do a lot of tutorials, etc. It's a very guided way that you can do it. So the moment a school comes in, the only thing the school needs to tell us is one point of contact, a single point of contact. We call the contact the school SPOC. Other than that, everything else, guiding them, there are these final year students who guide the students. And in terms of giving them materials, tutorials, etc., the team from our end has created a method by which the whole thing is scalable. So the only thing the school needs to do is to give us that single point of contact who will help us in onboarding the students, etc., into the thing. So it is a pretty self-regulated project, and that's why it's scaling very quickly.
Okay, and each school 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th?
We are starting from 7th itself, Arunji. So 7th and 8th, because that is the critical time. 7th, 8th, ke liye the projects are very simple.
Okay.
9th, 10th, 11th, they do slightly more advanced projects.
And music program?
It's kindergarten to class 5.
Kindergarten class 5, okay. So that you have full curriculum available.
K to 12, yes. So this project-based learning also recently I shared at the CBSE Future of Work conference. This was just last week in Delhi. They want to see how we can adopt what we are doing at a larger scale. So both programs now are, our CBSE is very happy with the model that has been constructed.
Yeah, and this class KG to class 5, what you have program, you have a Tamil songs or it's Hindi?
It's multilingual, Arunji. So there are children in Chennai learning Bengali songs. There are children in Delhi learning Tamil songs. Both are happening. So,
okay.
As I said, languages are one of the big things about the curriculum. The medium of instruction in Tamil Nadu will be Tamil. And for example, we've developed the curriculum in Telugu and in Hindi as well, so that it can be applicable across states.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anil, for joining in spite of a 5 o'clock meeting.
Sorry, I mean, I only came to know yesterday, otherwise I would have allotted this.
It was late for that perspective. We are designing from last 2 months, but we have not picked up we just picked up all of it. So I think it's a mistake.
What I will do is, Arunji, to Anand and to Ram Papu, I will share the both the crew template, that is the project learning template, as well as the Rhapsody playbook. Then we'll give, you can compile it with whatever else you're compiling.
That's right. In clusters, we want to go to village clusters to see how can we use Rhapsody. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we move on, Arun?